This is a big deal, and these communities need to know they're in this together, and then we'll start the education process to let them know, do you want to incorporate the pros and cons and what you gain and what you lose by incorporating. And I think the biggest thing we can demonstrate is what the future holds. If you incorporate sooner, this is what awaits you, potentially, as opposed to staying this monster community. I mean, this community is twice the size of the largest communities in Pinal County. I mean, it's twice the size of Casa Grande. It's twice the size of Apache Junction. It's almost 20,000 more citizens than Flagstaff. It's time that they really start to come together, and they'll decide. They will decide what is in their best interest. And we're looking to probably put that on the ballot. That is a process that will take time, that we're not in a big rush for at this point. In November of 2010, I would look to see the incorporation question come to the ballot. And it's my job to ensure that the facts are all out there so citizens can make educated decisions in November when it is time. So that's the role the county will play. We'll provide all that information out there, get them facts, get them details, and the movement will come from within Santan Valley. It will come within the community leaders out there. And we have to be careful. Sometimes personalities get in the way. We've had a couple incorporation movements out there that personalities kind of sidetracked it, which is pretty common in the incorporation game. We have to be careful and just... The people out there are smart. They don't need the personalities involved. They just need facts, and they'll make an educated decision about their future, and that's all people ask. They just want to have a voice.
Talking about educated decisions, let's go to the Pinal County budget. I mean, the state right now, as of this taping, does not have a budget. But Pinal County does. It's easy to set a budget when there's a lot of revenue out there. But when there isn't a lot of revenue out there and you don't know what the state's going to do, it must have been a monster thinking about this budget.
The budget aspect of it, the numbers game, the numbers are so big. A normal guy, I can't wrap my head around $450 or $400 million. What I can wrap my head around is jobs, people keeping their jobs, cutting programs, cutting pay, those things. So I can relate to that. And so as we've cut our budget, we went from about $458 million last year, and we just settled in just over $400 million. That's a humongous cut in a budget. And we lost, between jobs people that we didn't rehire and people that we let go, I mean, well over 100 people that were employed here just a few months ago are now out looking for jobs. And that's such a scary place to be right now with the economy, and we recognize, I recognize that if you lose your job, you're probably going to have a hard time making your house payment. So the ramifications are huge at so many levels, from your kids having to move to go to different schools, not to mention you've lost your job and your credit now is in the tank and you're starting over. That was the hardest part, the reality of what budget cuts really mean. And I feel for the state. We've got a humongous deficit that we were blessed at the county. The past administrations were wise when times were good, and they were really good just a couple of years ago. They set money aside, and they didn't overextend themselves with programs based on one-time fundings or those types of things. So the discipline of the past really benefited the people of today. And we had on the table, we had a across the board 5% salary cut, and it was a great process to watch the supervisors debate and talk about the pros and cons of going into our rainy day fund, for lack of a better term, our balanced fund, but our rainy day fund, to take the risk and go into that and demonstrate to our employees that you are our most valuable asset, And although our job at the county is to provide services for all our citizens, we still need to take care of our employees. And we had the opportunity to take care of them, and we were debating, how low can we go on a salary reduction and furloughs and all the options. It was a great process, and thank the Lord, and I mean that sincerely. We got about $3.5 million from the government that we weren't expecting to get, based on a court case, that answered a lot of prayers. I mean, a lot of people were really, really worried. How am I going to make my house payment if the county cuts my pay 5 or 4 or 3 or even 2%? And as it worked out, we didn't have to take any salary cuts, with the caveat that we're not out of the forest yet. This time we made it work. And we're probably going to have a mid-year or a mid-cycle budget look here in this October, November, December time frame. We'll see what the state does. The state stands a very good chance of coming back and trying to take money from counties and municipalities, and we need to be ready for that. And it's my hope that our employees recognize that we see them as an amazingly valuable asset, and that if we do have to take any money from them, that it is last on the list. It's because we will have no other choices.
Right.
So, and I hope we demonstrated that this time in our fight. But the budget, it's an interesting job. I've been in here 6 months now, and I've already had to deal with a lot of big issues that affect thousands and thousands of people.
It comes down to strategic planning a lot, especially now with limited funds. The supervisors right now are asking for a monthly update for the budget. You're looking at numbers monthly. In the past, usually the supervisors would pass the budget in June or July, and that would be the last you've heard of it because the funds were there. As this budget goes, it's going to be looked at every month. Is this something akin to something that you've dealt with maybe in the military? I mean, is something along those lines?
Well, in the military, we're always tracking everything, whether it's how many gallons of gas we've used to how many hours we've flown the aircraft, at so many levels. I think at this point, the fact that we look at it every month, we demonstrate and we give a heads up to our employees and everybody. So it's all above board, and they can see the numbers, and they can see whether we're making gains or we're losing ground, and so they kind of have a heads up. And if anything, it hopefully won't be too much of a surprise, and I pray it doesn't happen. But if we come back in December and say, hey, it looks like we might have to either let some people go, or which I don't know that we have any more to let go. I don't know. I know we're pretty lean right now. Or we take a salary hit. It shouldn't be a big surprise. It won't be welcome, but it won't be a surprise. And so often people don't mind. Well, nobody likes bad news, but it's sure a lot better when you see it coming. Nobody likes being surprised with bad news. So it's kind of a pessimistic approach, but when it's your lifestyle, your life, your job, I think it's better to be forewarned as forearmed. Hopefully the numbers will continue to grow, and hopefully the things that we're doing now will position us to be ahead of the rest of the country and the rest of Arizona, to where the economic development starts here and the revenues start to come in here first.
We're talking now about what you said before about Phoenix and Pinal County actually outpacing Pima County in growth. The rebound has got to come sometime. And let's talk about the rebound. What happens when the county and the state as a whole begins to rebound? Where do you see things going from that point?
It all depends what you've done during the slow times. People that, in my opinion, people that hunker down and wait out the storm, in this case, will